Core Essentials recently shipped me out some of their upcoming titanium belts. These still come with the same track system, but just come with upgraded buckles. And whilst admittedly, these are probably the best belts you can buy, because this is titanium, it comes in at a much higher price point. I believe once available, these are going to retail for around double the cost of their regular belts, which really puts them out of my price range. With my level of disposable income, I couldn't really justify spending that much on a belt, and this kind of got me thinking. I'm asked a lot of very similar style questions on my videos. How much should I spend on shoes? What's a good amount to spend on a watch? And what should my budget be for buying jeans, and so on? I want to give you my basic budget tips or principles when it comes to clothing, so that you might be able to spend a more appropriate amount of money on something. The first principle is, how would you feel if you lost the item or damaged it beyond repair? Would you feel gut-wrenchingly bad? And could you realistically afford to replace it? Here's an example. Let's say you drop £1,000 on some Yeezys. Something I personally wouldn't recommend, but let's just say that that's happened. You've got these shoes and then your best friend accidentally knocks some bleach on them. Or maybe you're at the gym, you've got changed into clothes, and someone steals that bag with your Yeezys in. Whilst such occurrences are probably going to be very rare, sometimes they do happen. And knowing my luck, it'll be right after I've spent £1,000 on them shoes. In such a situation, would you be able to replace them? Would you feel absolutely sick to the stomach with dread that you've saved up for so long and then blown it all on these shoes which are now gone? If that's the case and you feel like that, or you think you could feel like that, then you're probably spending too much. But if we flip the situation and put a pair of £100 shoes in that place, or a pair of £50 shoes in its place, how does that same situation compare then? Does your level of disposable income more align with that sort of price? Another thing to consider is how much quality are you actually getting for your money? It's why I recommend doing your research and looking at real product reviews. It might be the reason that you found my channel in the first place, because realistically, lots of brands have stuff that's way overpriced, where in many cases you're paying a premium just because it's got a certain brand name on it, and although you're spending more than you might have been before, you're not actually getting much more quality. I know I've talked about watches lots before, but it's because it's something I know. Something like a movement watch, for instance, these cost barely anything to manufacture, but they've rammed a huge premium on because it says MVMT at the top. You'll be able to find a watch of this sort of quality for significantly less money. So consider that when making purchases. On each of your clothing items, how much bang for your buck are you getting? This might not matter so much for really low cost items, let's say under £10, but when you're getting into the hundreds of pounds, it can make a huge difference. One thing that you could have a look at is the cost per use that you think you'll get from the item. Let's say you've got a pair of shoes at £90, and you predict that realistically you might get 2 years out of them, but you're also weighing up a second pair. That pair is tempting because it's £40, but for that pair of shoes you think 6 months would be pushing it. It seems like a lower quality item. Have a look at both of those and work out the cost per use. Even though one is cheaper up front, is it cheaper over the long run? Let me know the answer in the comment section below. Obviously, in all circumstances, this isn't going to be possible. For instance, there might be a pair of shoes that works out as the best cost per use, but is going to cost you £500 up front. This is money that most people probably won't have. Another thing that may affect your spending is trends. It kind of goes in line with that last one. Is the item that you're going to be putting money up for going to be something that you'll be able to wear continually for a couple of years, or will you just be throwing it away in a few months because it's suddenly out of style? This is why there are people online that don't really recommend going for trends. Because these trends are always changing, you're going to have a hard time finding good value. Trendy items normally aren't that cost effective. And I'll leave you with a couple of final things to consider. One is the resale value. Now, I mentioned in this video about how once you've got through something, you might chuck it in the bin. But realistically, with many items, you might be able to sell them on. This might be something to just consider in the back of your mind. How much would you be able to get for that item in a couple of years when it's in used condition? Because you may be able to get some of the money back, which makes it a better deal for you. Whereas products from other brands will completely depreciate in value straight away, and you'll have a hard time selling them at all. Also, if you know that your spending is a problem, you may want to limit yourself to a certain percentage of your earnings. Financial experts normally recommend only spending around 5% of your income on things like clothes. It's up to you how important your clothes or your image is to you. It might be worth working out how much that would come to each month so you can see approximately how much you might have to work with. that's some of my basic tips and principles when it comes to clothes shopping. Or accessory shopping, you get the idea. Subscribe for more videos just like this one, and I'll see you in the next video.